Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome back to another video game review. And today's review, I'm going to be talking about Astro's Playroom. So, I'm going to go ahead and just real quickly correct myself from my PlayStation 5 review video. I kept saying Astro Boy, which that is completely incorrect. This is referred to as Astro Bot. So, you can pardon me for the incorrection, especially whenever Astro was being used in the first place. So, Astro Bot is the correct term to use versus Astro Boy. Do not ask me why I kept referring to Astro Boy. That's just what popped out of my mouth. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the actual game, Astro's Playroom. Now, this is technically the first of the Astro games that I've ever played, technically. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of like the third or fourth entry. The past couple ones, Astro, I believe, was originally put on the PS Vita, and then it was on the PlayStation VR, and then I believe if there was one other time, it was probably for the PlayStation Move, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I would definitely have to touch up on all my information and stuff like that, but that's as far as I know. I know that there have been other games of Astrobot. I've just never got a chance to play them because obviously I didn't have the necessary equipment to actually play them, you know? It was one of those things where the character is really mostly used to help sponsor the product that it was supposed to be based on, you know? And I think that's the best way to describe Astrobot, is that it's not really it's not really Sony's IP, but rather Sony's product assistant, I guess? Whatever the word is for demonstrating a product and then trying to show it in the best way possible. But of course, with that being said, Astro's Playroom was really a delightful and entertaining experience for me, both in its high points as well as some of its low points. I'm going to talk about all of that, but what is Astro's Playroom on the ground surface, considering the fact that this is free to play, especially whenever you have it on the PlayStation 5. It's automatically installed onto the system as soon as you boot up the PlayStation 5, and I imagine this is going to be the same way going forward with all PlayStation 5s, considering the fact that my PlayStation 5 was made 2 years after its original release. So it's not just oh yeah, you can go and download it. No, it was already pre-installed into the system anyway. So in other words, I didn't have to bother having to worry about being online in order to play it. It was already installed into the system. So it's practically free. Why would you want to play Astro Boy? I think that would be the correct question to ask. Why should you play Astro Boy? Well, Astro Boy is relatively a delightful platformer, if you will. A platformer in which where literally is celebrating everything Sony, everything PlayStation, you know? Anything that PlayStation was based on and created and built on is here. Everything from the PlayStation 1 all the way up to its current age, which is that of the PlayStation 5. And that's really cool. That's really cool, especially if you have been a PlayStation fan from the very beginning, since the PlayStation 1. There's a lot of history that you probably have with you and that you're familiar with. I myself, however, though, have only been a PlayStation fan since the PlayStation 2 age, thanks to games like Kingdom Hearts and stuff. So, my vast knowledge is like a generation behind. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate some of the PlayStation 1 games that came out, especially since that technically the PlayStation 2 could play both PS1 and PS2 games. But that's the cool thing about Astro Boy, is that it celebrates everything PlayStation related. So if you've been a PlayStation fan at any point in time, you're going to recognize a lot of this stuff. A lot of stuff like, for example, the PSP to the PS Vita, a lot of like smaller stuff that some people may not even be aware of, some of the more bigger stuff that people already know of. It just celebrates everything. But what's even more delightful than just, you know, being able to explore all the things that is PlayStation related is also to find all of its hidden Easter eggs that is within this game. And by Easter eggs, I mean frickin' collage of characters that you'll recognize. For example, there's The Last of Us, there's Tekken, there's Uncharted, there's Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper. All of the PlayStation icons that you can technically think of is on here. Except for one. And it kind of irks me in a way. Not majorly, and it's definitely not a downer, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, considering how many they put into the game, I kind of wish they did this in some effort. And that was the fact that, even though they had the Final Fantasy VII reference, they did not have a Kingdom Hearts reference. Now, you might be asking yourself, it's like, well, Kingdom Hearts is technically third party now, right? You could also argue and say that for Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Solid, so technically that wouldn't even matter, considering the fact that it released 3 games onto the PlayStation 2. Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, and then of course Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories later on. So it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of wish they gave it a little bit of a homage, some way. Not saying that there has to be a character representation, just his weapon or something, you know? One could argue to say there's one particular scene where it does have a thing that looks like Kingdom Hearts, but I don't know if that would be the case or not. That's just from my personal perspective. And then again, there may be a hidden Easter egg of Kingdom Hearts that I didn't see. I looked at one other YouTuber's video where he referenced all the different things that's in the game in terms of like Easter eggs and stuff you may not have noticed and stuff like that. And there was no mention of Kingdom Hearts in it whatsoever. So if there is a Kingdom Hearts reference, no one knows about it. But that's kind of like the one small thing that did kind of irk me. It's like you got God of War twice. God of War twice, technically. You got the original God of War from God of War 1, and then you got God of War 2018. But you don't have at least one small, tiny, insignificant, little, itty bitty, teeny, tiny Kingdom Hearts thing. Okay. Then again, there wasn't anything else major either, you know. Square Enix is mostly known for Final Fantasy, and back in the PlayStation 2, even though Kingdom Hearts got its start on the PlayStation 2, it was still a powerhouse when it comes to Final Fantasy. So if there was going to be any other Square Enix Easter egg, it would have been probably Final Fantasy X, if I had to say. So yeah, I can kind of understand that, but still, it kind of irks me of how you got Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, 2 characters that are arguably forgotten now, sadly. More Jak and Daxter forgotten than Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper at least got one PS3 game out, and it almost had a movie, a Netflix series, before it got canceled. And, yeah, poor Jak and Daxter got nothing. It's just hidden references is all they are. But the thing is that, while all that's cool, the biggest contributor about this game is the fact that, what is it really? You know, like, what is it really? Well, the best way to explain it is that it's just a small collectathon, you know? You go through 4 various of different levels, you collect everything that's in those levels, and then if you beat the 4 realms, you are able to access a mysterious 5th realm. Now, I'm not going to say what that 5th realm is. I don't want to spoil it for you, especially considering the fact that this is technically one of the last things that you'll probably do, depending on how well you collect stuff, how well aware you are of everything and stuff like that. So, I want to leave this part a secret, but we'll be referring to the 4 realms as well as the PlayStation Labo. So, yeah, you're just collecting everything, you know? You're collecting the different artifacts, which are accessories that go with the system, per se. The puzzle pieces, which more or less collide to the wall that are in the PlayStation Labo. You collect coins, which you can then turn around and use it on a gacha machine, where you can obtain more puzzle pieces, as well as small little add-ons to the PlayStation Labo that kind of fills it up. And let me also say this as well. This is probably going to be one of the more, depending on how quickly you can get through it on your first try, one of the more easier trophies to platinum. In fact, I've decided to make this one my first platinum trophy to get on the PlayStation 5. I would have liked to have made it a Demon's Souls, but it didn't get here fast enough, sadly. So, but Astro Boy isn't really that hard. It's just a matter of like figuring out where everything's at and figuring out what they are. you can relatively beat this with no problem. It really wasn't that hard. The only hardest thing, and even then, is like, you can kind of micromanage it in a way, and that is the network speed test. This is the only online feature that that Astro Playroom actually has in terms of online capability, is the speed test network thing. And what that is that you basically go through a gauntlet and you try to beat it as fast as possible. You don't necessarily have to be the best, but in terms of trophy requirements, you just have to have a total running time of under 7 minutes. And I just happened to have gotten it micromanaged enough to where it was just a few milliseconds short to where it was able to get the trophy. It takes a little bit of retry and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. It just takes a little bit of familiarity with the game and stuff. I love Astrobot. I love the world of Astrobot, and I honestly wish I could have played the other games when they were released and when they were available, because quite honestly, they are probably some of the more delightful games that I have played in a while. I mean, yeah, one could argue and say that that would be the same way as Shrey with its robots. Then again, I love cute robot designs, and Astrobot, as well as the robots from Shrey, are very similar in that fashion. But yeah, it's just, I absolutely love how it looks. I love how the gameplay is and stuff like that. It's just what it is. It's a celebration of PlayStation. So depending on if you're a major fan of PlayStation for years, it's going to grow that much more with you. It's going to magnify itself way more than anything else. Not to say that it's like monumentally a 5 out of 5, but it's still a fantastic and enjoying experience. There is, however, a slight complaint that I do have with the game, and that is whenever it tries to enforce some of its special features. Now, what I mean is that obviously, since it's a new console generation, Sony is going to be trying to push out stuff that tries to push the innovation ladder out to you. It basically tells you how far they've come in terms of game design. And, well, the PlayStation controller, I'm not a fan of. I mean, I've talked about it before. It's a bit bulky, heavy, and the vibration controls are very powerful. So powerful, in fact, it could probably be put as a pleasure tool. And for those that are asking what I mean, ask your parents. I ain't gonna answer that for you. For those of you who are old enough, you probably know what I'm referring to. That is how powerful this vibration control is. It's kind of annoying to have every single step that Astro makes actually communicate with the controller, where it vibrates and everything like that. Every step you make, you feel it. And it's not even an HD rumble like the Joy-Con is, where it does feel lifelike. In this case, it feels kind of clunky and stuff, and I'm not a fan of it. I know some people will have different opinions about that, to which you're welcome to have those, but I just kind of don't like the vibration functions nowadays. They're just more annoyance now, and really don't add anything to the overall gaming experience, I feel like, unless it's like finely tuned. This one is still kind of carrying on its traditional rumble feature, and unfortunately it's definitely powerful. I do not like it. Another thing that I also don't like is that all the 4 realms that you go through, there's a segment of trials that you go through where, you know, whenever you go to the GPU jungle, you suit up as a monkey and you use the controller to climb up and stuff like that. When you're in the cool springs, you are suit up as like this hopping frog, and you tilt the control to tilt the character and then hold the R2 button in order to jump and stuff like that. You then got another one where it's more or less piloting a little rocket ship and you're using the controller to steer it left or right. And then of course you have the ball, which really doesn't have a major controller function except for the D-pad, except for the touchpad. And that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I would argue and say that that's probably one of the more milder things that can be worked with is the touchpad feature. The controller, it's just a 6-axis feature that I still hate to this day, and I really, really wish Sony would just put it down and just don't bother with it. I absolutely hate this feature. The worst part about it is that after the PlayStation 3, as the year goes on, that feature is going to slowly stop working and it's going to make the game physically unplayable more likely. But with that being said, I kind of wish that I didn't have to have that, and instead there was like another alternative, like using the analog sticks to steer left or right instead of just having whatever we had. And all honesty, I think that would have been better instead of controlling the controller itself, you know, tilting the controller. It feels wanky to me. But if I had to give a rating to Astrobot, or rather Astro's Playroom, it would be a 4 out of 5. You know, I would recommend this to anyone who is remotely interested, who wants to play it, and especially if you got a PlayStation 5, it's not going to hurt you. Just mess around with it for a few minutes and see if you're going to enjoy it. If you're going to enjoy it, it's going to be a fun little thing for you. If you don't think you're going to like it, then chances are it's probably not for you then. But yeah, at any rate though guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys next time.